Hello students. Today we'll learn about the chapter Saving the Gharial. So story is written by Romulus Whitaker, who is a wildlife conservationist. He works primarily with the amphibians and reptiles. Whitaker lives in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, and is the founder of Madras Snake Park and the Madras Crocodile Bank Trust. The narrative is written by his wife Janki Lelin, but it is Whitaker's account of his attempt to save the gharial and its natural habitat. So let's begin. The sun blazed overhead. It was midday and we had been walking for hours. I wanted to believe that the wisp of blue in the distance was the river Padma, our destination, but I worried it was a mirage. The river is the official boundary between India and Bangladesh and has changed its course so many times I feared it might have vanished altogether. Finally, a ribbon of cobalt swam into view. We reached the high bank, knee buckling with exhaustion, when in the water below us we saw a crocodile with a long snout. Was it a gharial or just another illusion? The reptile's body glistened in the sun. She seemed unafraid of us, and we guessed she was guarding eggs buried in the sandbank. Instantly revived, we dug until we found the nest while being watched carefully by its owner. We were hoping to rear her young safely in captivity and then release them, but she didn't know that. Still, she didn't attack us. That was in the mid 1980s. We didn't know it then, but this may have been the last time gharials nested in Bangladesh. The problem was that no one knew enough about this unusual crocodile to be able to help it. This is what made me work as much as I could in gharial country, India, Bangladesh, and Nepal. What sets the gharial apart from all other crocodilians is its unusual long snout. The slim jaws, lined with sharp teeth, are ideal for catching fish. But they have another function. When a male gharial reaches adolescence at around age 12, a strange appendage begins growing up to the tip of his snout. This is the ghara. The Hindi word for pot, which it resembles, and it completely covers the and presses down on the nostrils. When the male breathes out forcefully, it produces a noise that carries across the water. The politest term I can come up with it for this noise is buzz snort. It serves two purposes: to attract female and warn off rivals. We once heard the buzz snort in action near Rajghat on the Chambal River in northern India. We saw a big male gharial and heard his underwater territorial jaw clap. The gharial is the only crocodile to advertise its presence in this way underwater. Some biologists think this could be a method of stunning prey as well as marking territory. Though it was winter, a time when crocodiles bask on the sandbanks to warm up, this male spent most of his time in the water, alert to any male who might try to take his position. Fights between male gharial involve terrific displays of prowess. The territory holder surges forward, churning the river water into fourth with his tail. If the other gharial is not frightened away, the two males then fight. Their slender snouts clash like swords in the air, though they seem too fragile for such violent action. Indeed, you can often hear the crack of a tooth or bone hitting bone. Eventually, one gharial will prevail and the other will retreat. After the males complete this stage, it is the female who go to war, battling over the best nest sites. Once the fights are over, a mother gharial makes a nest hole 40 or 50 cm deep with her hind feet, into which she lays about 50 large eggs. She then covers the nest, tossing sand over the area to hide her tracks from predators such as hyenas, jackals, and mongooses, before returning to the river to keep watch from a distance. Many crocodilians are attentive parents, but little was known about how gharial care for their young until I observed our captive breeding population. One day I noticed a mother begin calling from beneath the sand, just as other young crocodiles do. It can take mother crocodiles hours to help their babies reach the water, as they cannot see exactly where the youngsters are. They often mistake rocks, eggshells, clods of dirt, and even baby turtles for their own young and will tenderly carry them to the river. This female dug with her front feet until she flipped out a baby, which landed on her hind feet. She excavated the rest of the nest and then turned around and slid into the river. Her 36 babies followed, rather like duckling. Alerted by all the activity, the male stayed nearby. When he swam close, the babies climbed onto his head, transforming him from an aggressive fighter into a devoted parent. Both adults then guarded the youngster. In the wild, their behavior is no doubt similar. Up to 100 years ago, the gharial's buzz snort resonated along the deep rivers of the northern Indian subcontinent. Not for the gharial, the still waters of ponds or lakes where other crocodiles thrive. This is a river dweller that eats only fish. Unfortunately, the choice of habitat and diet has been the gharial's downfall. Its rivers are being dammed, which means that group of gharials are separated from each other and they are forced to live in rapidly shrinking habitats. After the last ice age, the gharial staked out about 20,000 square kilometers of rivers spanning from Pakistan to Myanmar. Today, its domain is a mere 200 square kilometers and gradually decreasing. To counter the decline and that of other Indian crocodilians, Project Crocodile was set up in 1974 by the Indian government with help from the UN. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, we carried out surveys, behavioral studies, and captive breeding. We reared thousands of youngsters and released them in protected areas. Sadly, few of these crocodiles survived for long, but we did not know why. For example, the beautiful Satkoshia Gorge in Orissa appears to have everything a gharial could want: fish, sandbanks, protection. Threats such as bamboo rafting and net fishing have been eliminated. Yet only 2 of the 700 gharials released here in the past 3 decades have survived. When I visited the gorge during the monsoon in mid-July, I saw how small streams have become torrents. The river had eroded the banks and uprooted trees. The released gharials were obviously being flushed downriver, out of the protected area and even into the sea. One was seen on a beach, other in a mangroves and ponds. Those that ended up in tributaries were caught in fishing nets. Fishing is a massive problem. In supposedly protected areas, we saw several gharials whose snouts had got tangled in nylon fishing nets. It was clear that despite the rules, nets were being set at night, entangling gharials that tried to swim through them and attempted to eat the netted fish. The crocodiles didn't drown, but they were left unable to open their jaws and thus in danger of starving to death. Clearly, though, the gharial is not in as much danger as before. Our 30 years strategy of captive breeding has not been enough. The species faces an uncertain future and its survival is closely linked with the needs of the humans dependent on the rivers. Our campaign is part of a much larger effort to ensure the survival of these rivers. The threat from development, pollution, and climate change increase day by day. But we are hopeful that people are at last ready to do what it takes to save the Gharial, the finest example of a healthy river. So, let's analyze the chapter now. Let's see what we find in this chapter. Let's discuss. So, how does the narrator make the reader anxious that the river could be in danger of disappearing? Initially, when the narrator describes River Padma as a wispy blue line in the distance and later as a ribbon of cobalt blue, the description of a mighty river bordering two countries as a thin strip tells us that the purpose of this personal essay is to showcase the danger of rivers disappearing altogether. Why did the narrator think that the Gharial could be an illusion? The narrator was exhausted and could not believe that at last their expedition was crowned with success. That was the reason. How was the mother Gharial's behavior? Strange. She was guarding her eggs but did not mind the team taking them, though she did not know that they were doing it for the good of her babies. So, how is the incident significant? This happened in the mid 1980s and may have been the last time that Gharials laid eggs for breeding in Bangladesh. That makes it significant. And that is why the narrator wanted to walk in the Gharial territory along River Padma in India, Nepal, and Bangladesh, because at that time no one knew much about Gharials to sort out their problem. Now, if we describe the strange behavior of an adult male Gharial on the Chambal River near Rajghat, then we can see that though most of the crocodiles warm themselves on the sandbanks during the winter, what we find that this adult male gharial stayed underwater, making a strange sound to protect his territory. What is the third purpose that some biologists think the clapping of the jaws serve? Maybe attracting the female gharials. Many things can happen. So, how does the narrator make the description of the gharial fight interesting? By providing visual images of the Forty river and the snout of the gharial clashing like daggers, he makes it interesting. So, what do the females do after the male have successfully laid claim on his territory? They fight for the hold over the best place for nesting. So, why is the gharial's way of life endangered now? It's because they have the fear of getting extinct. What was being done to counter this dangerous situation? Trying to eliminate the fishing in the gharial protected territories. But still, it was a tough ask because such thing was not happening at all. So, which is the specific project the narrator describes to substantiate the main statement that he shows? How does the narrator lay blame on the people? So, it's on the people. People, if we keep the river healthy, then of course the gharial will survive. That is where he focuses mostly. So, how does the narrator make the information about gharial breeding interesting? She intersperses general factual information with specific visual details from her personal experience. When she once watched a mother gharial searching for and guiding her 36 newly hatched babies to the river, they walked like ducklings behind her. The narrator also focuses on their parental love and care for the children to show us that she has developed an emotional bond with them and to arouse her interest in them and to protect their habitat so that this beautiful crocodile species can survive. So, this is actually a personal essay written with a purpose. The writer's intention is to persuade the readers about our role in saving the gharial because the presence of gharials proves that the river is healthy. She states that saving the gharial has to be a part of a larger project, that of saving the river that are threatened by urban development, pollution, and climate change. She also says that her team is hopeful that people are ready to help them with their project because they realize how important it is to save the rivers. As a personal essay, it is opined, no doubt, but backed by facts to make a convincing plea on behalf of the gharial. A factual details about deep rivers that had spread across 20,000 square kilometers from Pakistan to Myanmar during the last ice age, dwindling to a mere 200 square kilometers and still decreasing, helps us to understand her panic that river Padma may have disappeared altogether. A factual report on the efforts of the Project Crocodile to breed gharials in captivity and failing to save them focuses on fishermen who break rules without realizing the extent to the damage that they have reckoned over to this beautiful creature. As a first person account, the essay gains credibility because the writer is a member of a team working on Project Crocodile. Her arguments are backed by facts to present her case that saving the gharial is a part of a larger project to save our rivers. They bring out her personal concern as a member of a team working with other teams of environmentalists. This essay is made interesting by interspersing bare facts with visual details about male gharials fighting for territorial rights are attracting the females, and the females preparing places in the river to lay and hatch their eggs and their parental concern. She endears the baby gharial to use by comparing them to more familiar creatures like ducklings following their mother to a river. Her argument for saving gharial are convincing. We can no longer take the crocodiles for granted, expecting them to thrive on their own. We must realize that their very survival depends on us and the measures we take to keep our rivers clean and flowing, which will make it healthy. That's why the last sentence is of ample importance, where she says that the threats from development, pollution, and climate change increase day by day, but we are hopeful that people are at last ready to do what it takes to save the gharial, the finest example of a healthy river. So that's where we end the discussion on this chapter. Thank you very much.